now we will paint the background. Though we are going to paint the background, we are going to wet the entire area and make sure that the color is not dropped in the area where the starfish is. Okay, so I'll show you how it is. I am adding a lot of water here, even if I can use a filler to add water into my paper. You see, you can see how much water I am adding, right? Need more water. I'm using a brush. This is a mop brush I'm using in order to spread the water. It will take some time for this to be very well spread. So if you just stop after this, like say now I can see that my water is actually spread over the entire paper, and if I stop at this point, okay, what happens is this water will be sucked up by the paper already, and then it will dry up faster. Okay, so if you want your paper to stay wet for a little bit longer time, then you can wait for some time, add more water. See, this area is already dry. Okay, so I added more water and making sure that the water is quite spread in the paper. And if your paper is not Arches or any professional kind of paper, it will start tearing off. Okay, if this much of water you are adding into the paper, most probably it will start tearing off. Also it will dry up faster. It cannot hold so much of water inside, so the paper will start to dry faster. Okay, that is one of the major problems that people face when they want to paint with watercolors for a longer period of time, like a wet on wet technique. Okay, what I'm going to show you is wet on wet technique. So what does it mean by wet on wet technique? I am wetting the paper and on top of it I'm going to add wet paint. So that's why wet on wet, wet paint on wet paper. Okay, so here I have quite nicely wet my paper. You see how much time I'm taking patiently to wet the paper, right? So this will help the paper to suck up some water inside it. Okay. Now how I will paint the background is I'll add the I'll add the paint here. Okay, I will not add any paint here. Okay, and that paint will flow into the areas. Okay, here also I'll add paint, making sure that it is not actually getting inside the starfish. Okay, so let it soak up some water. See, I can see the reflection of the light here. Maybe here you are seeing the reflection, right? Similarly, I can see the reflection of my light here, so I'll show you how wet this is. Are you able to see? Yeah, somewhat you're able to see the reflection, right? So this is the kind of wetness I have right now in the painting. Okay. Okay, so now it is quite wet. We can start putting in the paint. Okay, so I'm going to start with the bottom portion. So here I'm going to add a little bit of raw sienna and some yellow, a gray kind of color. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, again I'm adding the water so that it doesn't dry off. Okay, now I'm taking I I want a gray mixture, okay, kind of a gray mixture. So what colors I'll take? I added some water here. For getting a gray, you can add yellow, okay, and some blue. Now it has become green, right? To this we will add either quinacridone rose or red. The red was too much. Okay, let me add some blue to it. Okay, and a little bit yellow. This is somewhat kind of a gray kind of a color. Okay, so there is another video in our community where I am explaining how you can mix different gray colors using combination of red, yellow and blue. You can test your color once you have mixed it. See, now it is kind of quite grey, proper grey, but I want it to be a little bluish grey, so I am adding a little bit more of blue here. Ultramarine blue is the color that I added. Now it is kind of a bluish grey I have in the middle portion. Okay, so now if my water is not enough, again at this point you can add water into my paper. You may observe that your paper is buckling, or like, see here it is, here I can see a bulge and here there is a like it is not staying flat, and that is normal. You will face that issue when you are doing the wet on wet technique, but that's okay, we can handle it. Okay, now let's add the colors. I'm going with little bit of raw sienna here at the bottom. Kind of this much, okay, and the top portion I'm going to put it as blue. So here is kind of, what do you say, bed, the seabed maybe, okay. We don't want it to be exactly defined. I'm mixing the color here, lifting off or taking out extra colors by just dabbing on the sides of the palette and bringing in that color here, and just dropping it like this. Okay, sienna I added, and now I can add a little bit of the grey color that I mixed. adding more gray here. Let the colors mix in the paper. Cleaning my brush and bringing back here to take more water, to take more paint and adding it here. Taking the gray color. Okay. Now we will go to the top portion. For the top portion I am taking a bigger brush and I'm going to add in the blue colors there. So let me take some cerulean blue, little bit. Okay, the mixture, you can see how I am touching, not dipping my entire brush into it. I'm bringing a little bit of color here and see how that color looks. Okay, I'm doing something like this. Okay, while I'm coming here, I'll be careful that I'm not touching the okay. Now I can change my color to ultramarine blue. So I rinse off my brush, take off extra water and take some paint here, the ultramarine blue mixture, and I'm going with the ultramarine blue mixture. Okay, see together, see my brush movement. Okay, I'm taking more color. Maybe I can take some more ultramarine blue and then in this direction. Okay, see, consider this as the center and then I'm moving it towards these directions. My paper is still quite wet. I'm taking a little bit more, making it darker. Now I'm going with a little bit of cerulean blue, just dipping my tip of my brush there. See, I'm using the tip of my brush to add some details there. And if I want to have a little bit of greenish kind of tinge, this is optional, but I'm rinsing off my brush and taking some yellow. Using another palette, I'm lightening that yellow mixture. Okay, and then adding a little bit here so that it will give me that green kind of effect also. Okay. Going back to my ultramarine blue in this area. Okay, so this is the center. Now I'm going to create some line kind of effect by pressing and bringing the colors in this direction. Okay. Just making sure that my brush strokes are in the direction of like kind of a ray or something coming up from here. Okay. So here I don't want too much of colors. Now what I can do, I'm taking the colors off my brush using a tissue paper so that it's quite dry, and I'm lifting off some color from here like this. Okay, see, just like that. That's enough. We're not overdoing it. We don't want it to be too much. Slightly this area also. Okay. Okay, and a little bit of lifting in this direction. So if there is too much paint, take it off and then just add some rays kind of thing. Right. Okay, so now I'm rinsing off my brush and I'll come to the bottom portion. Here you see that there is so much of water logging here. Whenever you see such water logging in this portion, you can see there is some water logging there. See here. Okay, so what do? You again make your brush dry and you can take it off like that. Okay, when your brush is dry, it will lift off all those waters here. Okay, and you can mix the rest of the colors. As long as the paper is wet, you can do this. Okay, but if I want to add more drops of color, I can add that now. Underneath it, I am going to add some gray color. Since now the amount of water in the paper has reduced, it will not spread much. Okay. So underneath it, I am adding some colors, especially the gray kind of color. Okay, I'm rinsing off my brush, taking off the colors, taking off extra water from my brush, and then just doing a little bit of mixing in this portion. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm taking another brush, okay, leaving it here, taking a smaller brush, and I want to lift off the colors that has entered inside my starfish. Okay, how do? Take off the water, and then if I just lift off by pressing, it will lift off the colors that has entered into the paper. You see that? Here the color in the bottom portion is okay, because that area is going to be dark anyway, this portion. Okay, so I'm not lifting much, but on the top of each arm I'm lifting. Like this is the top of the arm, right? So here I can lift off some colors. Okay. Cleaning my brush. Every time after I lift off, I clean my brush, take out the extra water, and then I'll come and lift off here. Okay, Okay, now here I'm taking out all the extra water using a tissue paper from the bottom, and at this point if I want to make some areas darker, I can make some areas darker. Okay, see my paper is still a little bit wet here at the bottom, so what I do, I want to create some dark colors there. Okay, so I am taking that with less wetness and adding it here. Here also, because this is kind of a shadow area underneath the starfish. Okay, we can do it later also. If your paper is already dry by now, don't do this. I'll show you how you can add it at the end of the painting as well. Okay, that's done. Now at this point, if you want to lift off some area, lift off means take off the extra color to get something like a white area. Like here you have a white area, right? So if I have to lift off, the same technique as I told you, you can use a dry brush, which is by cleaning your brush, taking off your extra water, you get a dry brush, and then lift off some areas like this, so you get some white sand kind of feeling as well. Okay, again cleaning my brush, taking off extra thing, and some areas I am giving a white highlight. That's it. Now we can let it dry, or we can use a hair dryer to dry it. Okay.